But when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they got together, and to disconcert him, one of them put a question. "Master, which is the greatest commandment of the law?" Jesus said, "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. The second resembles it. You must love your neighbour as yourself. On these two commandments hang the whole law and the prophets also." What a wonderful reading. In two short statements, Jesus sums up his whole raison d'etre for being a human being alongside us. It's all about love. Love is often devalued in today's world. We hear endless songs about love, and is it really love? On the other hand, love is also cherished and protected. We see the efforts people go to nourish themselves in their marriage, to maintain good friendships, to seek out people who are lost and lonely. These are good things in life. Sometimes people say, "Why do you keep going to church?" And you stop and think about it. And it's not just because you ought to go to church. At church we hear words of love spoken. We experience the care of others. We don't hear words like, "Get out of here, go away, I don't want you," or at least I hope we don't. Jesus calls us to be an inclusive community of disciples, to include anyone who comes to our doorstep, and to seek out the lost and the lonely. That's putting it all out there. The great Swiss psychologist Carl Gustav Jung, a man who lived in a house which had a stone lintel above the door, and on the door he'd carved, "Called or uncalled, God is always present." He once said, "What if I should discover that the poorest of the beggars and the most impudent of offenders are all within me, and that I stand in need of the alms of my own kindness, that I myself am the enemy who must be loved? What then?" That's quite a challenge to most people, because most of us don't reflect on our own neediness. We don't reflect on the fact that the second commandment that Jesus said was, "You must love your neighbour as yourself," which makes it seem that we've got to love ourselves first before we can love our neighbour. There are many ways we can love ourselves. There's the things like looking after our bodies, making sure we are not stressing out over things, making sure we're eating the right kind of food. But maybe one of the hardest ways that we all experience in loving ourselves is the decision we have to make and the attitude we have to take to ourselves when we make mistakes. We live in a very blaming culture, and when we make mistakes we often say, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that, how stupid, I'm silly," all that kind of self-talk. Not helpful. What would Jesus say to us if he were here talking to us about what we'd just done? He wouldn't be saying that. So one of the most important things we can do for ourselves is self-forgiveness and self-love, in the sense of accepting that sometimes we are going to mess up. Sometimes we will do the wrong thing. It's not the end of the world. Jesus is with us in it. And then if we are at peace with ourselves, we will truly be able to love God, love neighbours, and love people we don't know in a way which reflects the love and care God has for each one of us.